There's no way Disney's picking him up after his contract expires in April. They will let it expire, and that's it. Disney doesn't want this. Disney shareholders don't want politics. They just want they want entertainment. They want, and why would you want to allow 50 automatically, take, okay, there's 80 million voters that we don't want watching our show. I think he's affected by the head writer, who's his wife, who's a liberal. That's
the head writer is his wife.
Yeah, that's way out there.
Jimmy Kimmel's wife.
Jimmy Kimmel.
No, I know, but the head writer for what? For the show?
Jimmy Kimmel show.
For the show,
is his wife?
Did you see the podcast where he looked like he was a hostage by her over liberal white anger and bitter?
Over the past few months, Jimmy Kimmel's show has been taking hit after hit, leaving viewers wondering what went wrong. No more guessing, because Rob Schneider just pulled back the curtain with a blunt breakdown of the downfall. What he said was sharp, explosive, and far more intense than fans expected. Buckle up, hit subscribe, and jump right in. First, Kimmel's wild take, then Schneider fires back.
You were wondering how bad these Epstein files are for Trump? Turns out they're Invade Venezuela bad. This is literally the plot of the movie Wag the Dog. The president gets caught in a scandal, so he attacks a smaller country to distract us, and here we are, distracted. On Saturday, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were captured by Delta Force at their home in Caracas and brought to New York. Trump watched the operation unfold in real time from the bunker in his basement at Mar-a-Lago.
So there's Kimmel running with a conspiracy-style angle, wrapping it up like it's undeniable truth, all to take a shot at Donald Trump. That routine, it's old, predictable, and completely worn out. Let's hand it over to Schneider so he can break down exactly why it doesn't hold up.
My response to that is it's a really good warning to comedians and other hosts and other people who do shows that if you go too far down the conspiracy rabbit hole, or if you just get too politicized, and then all of a sudden you're not you're not in the funny business anymore. You're just in the it's politics, and it's It's really a propaganda through comedic imposition. They're imposing their views.
Schneider says this isn't bad luck. It's self-inflicted. In his view, the show didn't drift into decline. It drove straight into it. He argues Kimmel walked away from what built his audience in the first place, being genuinely funny, and instead reshaped himself into a late-night commentator, locked onto a single political target. Instead of quick jokes and sharp bits, entire monologues now revolve around Trump. That constant focus, Schneider claims, has pushed away viewers who came for comedy, not commentary. Even longtime fans, he says, are getting tired of the same rinse-and-repeat formula. Night after night, it circles the same outrage, the same themes, the same tone, more lecture than laughter. And when jokes lean into conspiracy-style framing, it stops landing like satire and starts sounding like messaging. According to Schneider, audiences feel that shift. They're not laughing like they used to. They're not escaping. They feel talked down to. And once a comedy show forgets how to be funny, it starts losing the reason people tuned in.
It wasn't funny, and it wasn't particularly interesting, and it's just factually incoherent, because believe me, if there was anything in those files about Trump, the Democrats had it for years. They would have released it, but you think they would have hid that stuff to protect Trump?
Schneider also argues that if there were anything truly explosive tying Trump to those files, it would have already dominated headlines everywhere. In his view, the political incentive alone would have guaranteed that any real smoking gun wouldn't stay hidden. Yet he says Kimmel keeps leaning into the idea that Trump is secretly buried in those documents, waiting for some big reveal. To Schneider, that's not satire, it's tunnel vision. He sees it as an obsession with wanting to see Trump exposed, whether proof exists or not. From his perspective, that crosses from comedy into storytelling driven more by desire than evidence, and he believes viewers can sense that difference. Instead of laughing, many feel worn out, like they're hearing the same prediction on repeat.
Look, obviously, all that stuff should come out, but the presumption that there's stuff there, how much more of this is it's people see that Russia was the only two people not involved in the Russia-Trump collusion was Russia and Trump. Everybody else seemed to be colluding. So I think the American people see through that. It's just like when you watch the news, depending if you're watching CNN, you have to go, okay, if politics is war by other means, this is war. So it's just a political warfare. So what are they not telling?
Schneider says this pattern isn't new, it's predictable. He points back to years of headlines about Trump and Russia, a storyline that dominated media cycles and fueled non-stop outrage. Day after day, it was treated like settled fact, but when everything played out, the outcome was far more complex than the early certainty suggested. Now, he says, attention has shifted, but the tone feels exactly the same. To him, it's a repeating cycle. Build the narrative, amplify it loudly, and see what sticks. And when those claims don't unfold the way they were first presented, credibility takes another hit. Each time, trust wears thinner, and audiences grow more skeptical.
It's treating your audience like they're stupid or like they're just in your own political echo chamber. And it's like, he listens, I think he's affected by the head writer, who's his wife, who's a liberal that's...
The head writer is his wife?
Yeah, that's way out there.
Jimmy Kimmel's wife.
Jimmy Kimmel.
No, I know, but the head writer for what? For the show?
Jimmy Kimmel show,
For the show
Is his wife?
Did you see the podcast where he looked like he was a hostage by her over-liberal white anger and bitterness? Oh, of course.
I think
Schneider argues a big reason Kimmel's ratings are slipping is simple. People feel patronized instead of entertained. The steady stream of heavy commentary doesn't feel like satire, it feels like a lecture, and today's audience isn't passive. With a few clicks, they can check facts, compare opinions, and form their own conclusions. So when speculation is delivered like certainty, viewers don't feel informed. They feel underestimated. That disconnect, he says, is poison for a comedy show. Late night used to be where people went to relax and laugh, not to hear more noise dressed up as jokes. When people feel guided instead of entertained, they leave, they switch off, and according to Schneider, that's happening in waves.
the show, he was the MC while we did the Hugh Hefner roast 8 days after 9/11. And, you know, and he was funny. He can be funny. I think when you get so emotionally vested in something, and I just think it's, I will tell you this right now. There's no way Disney's picking him up after his contract expires in April. They will let it expire, and that's it. Disney doesn't want this. Disney shareholders don't want politics. They just want they want entertainment. They want, and why would you want to allow 50 automatically, you know, take, okay, there's 80 million voters that we don't want to watching our show.
Schneider says this isn't just creative, it's financial. When Kimmel's contract comes up, companies like Disney will look at numbers, not nostalgia. In television, sentiment doesn't pay the bills. Ratings do. Revenue does. If the audience keeps shrinking, the case for renewal shrinks with it. Advertisers pay for attention, and fewer viewers mean less money. He also says this reflects a broader shift. Late night once thrived on universal humor that everyone could enjoy. Now many shows have traded that for narrow political messaging. When you shrink the audience, you shrink the impact. And when people stop feeling included, they don't argue, they just disappear.
When's the last time Jimmy Kimmel was actually funny?
Well, I will tell you, you can't really come up with like, well, that was a really good zinger. I mean, like, you know, Jay Leno, you can remember, I mean, I remember his jokes, you know, when he was on, just the, hey, you know, remember when Starbucks is, you know, Starbucks is opening up another 600 Starbucks, and where can they open it up? The only place I can think of is inside other Starbucks. You know, he would have.
Leno was the best.
I mean, he was really the best comedian of his era, and you know, and he was.
But he was fair, though. That's the thing about Leno. He'd call out all sides.
All those guys. I mean, Carson and Letterman.
Schneider says the early legends of late night understood one rule. If you roast everyone. No favorites, no protected sides. They hit left, they hit right, and audiences trusted that everyone would get their turn. The humor came from the chaos of the world, not fixation on one person. That balance made people from all backgrounds laugh together. But he argues that balance is gone. Instead of spreading the jokes, some hosts lock onto one target night after night. Trump becomes the center of everything, and when it feels one-sided, it stops feeling like comedy and starts feeling like something else.
They obviously, whoever's in power, they should go after, but with jokes. And I think, yeah, I mean, traditionally Trump has been thin-skinned about any jokes, but I also think those weren't jokes.
Adam Carolla was here. He was very complimentary of Kimmel. Like, he wouldn't say anything bad about Kimmel because he said Kimmel's the reason why he came up and all this other stuff. So he's got.
But I know that him and they diverge. But we have to move. We all have to. We can have divergent views without demonizing each other. And the problem with what Jimmy Kimmel does and what I just saw is it's just a continuation of the demonization of half of America. And well, who's that getting? Why was that getting us any?
Schneider says it didn't stop with Trump. Now, he believes anyone on the right walks. And already targeted, that approach, he argues, doesn't cool tensions. It fuels them. Comedy at its best brings people together. But when it leans too far one way, it divides the room. It stops feeling like a shared experience and starts feeling like a rally. He's clear. Criticism is healthy. Politicians, including Trump, should be challenged and even roasted. But the line gets crossed when jokes rely on speculation or drift into conspiracy territory. At that point, trust fades. People stop hearing sharp humor and start hearing a narrative being pushed. And when comedy loses balance, viewers don't just disagree. They leave.
Again, it's just politics for political gain. It's some sort of, propaganda with comedic imposition. This is, and the idea that the audience is going to laugh. They're not laughing. They're applauding, in the little political echo chamber. I'm telling you, he won't be there after April.
Well, let me read this.
Disney
Let me read this. Rob, is this Colbert? Let's see Colbert, but I want to go to Conan right afterwards, and I want to get his thoughts on Conan. So go ahead and play this one here.
Those Epstein files must be crazy. I mean, I'm something.
It starts to feel like every late-night host is reading from the same script. The punchlines change, but the message stays the same. Take Stephen Colbert, for example. He frames Trump's moves as some hidden distraction tied to bigger theories. The issue isn't just the joke, it's that the angle feels identical across multiple shows. Instead of fresh, clever humor, it starts to feel recycled and predictable. Viewers expect originality and surprise, not reruns of the same commentary disguised as comedy. Once people feel like they're being lectured instead of entertained, the spell breaks. And when that happens, they don't stick around. They click away, switch channels, and keep scrolling.
Let me read Conan's, and I'm going to come to you. So Conan O'Brien says, F Trump comics have been co-opted by anger, just screaming. Comedian late night show Conan O'Brien criticizes comics who are more focused on screaming about Trump. Rob, was there a clip on this, or was this? Okay, go for it. Play this.
Some comics go the route of,
can we raise the audio a little bit, guys?
I'm going to just say F Trump all the time, or that's their comedy. And I think, well, now a little bit you're being co-opted because you're so angry. You've been lulled. It's like a siren leading you into the rocks. You've been lulled into just saying F Trump, F Trump, F Trump, screw this guy, and I think you've now put down your best weapon, which is being funny.
At the end of the day, Schneider lays it out clearly. This is why Kimmel and many other late-night hosts are losing their audiences. Late night once thrived because it was sharp, funny, and fair, roasting everyone equally. Now the lens has narrowed. Shows feel one-sided, fixated on political targets like Trump, and sometimes drift into speculation. Audiences today have instant access to information. They see the bias, the repetition, the recycled angles. They're not fooled, and they don't stay. Ratings drop, advertisers notice, and networks like Disney start making tough decisions. Comedy that alienates millions doesn't last. Schneider's message is simple. Audiences aren't rejecting satire. They're rejecting agenda dressed up as humor. The takeaway is clear. Late night needs to entertain again, not lecture if it wants to survive.